Welcome to Agronomy Moment. I'm your host, Wendell Cohen. We bring in people who agree with me, disagree with me, and above all, are not afraid to say it like it is. Hey, welcome back everybody to Agronomy Moment. I'm joined with Celena. She is back here into the harness. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about your baby that you had, Eve.
Yeah, Eve. She's
How old is she now?
just over 3 months.
Okay.
So she's a really good baby. Life's changing and motherhood's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have you back here. Scott's done some filling in for us, and it's been great, and it's good to have you back again. Want to talk real quick today, a quick update here since Selena's with me about diseases. Well, I was going to talk about some of the diseases on our corn, soybeans due to all the wet weather we have, but I'd really like to ask you too, what do you think, Celena, are some things that we can be thinking about with these young crops that are in the ground and they're starting out and then they're getting quite a bit of rain? What's some things to be thinking about?
Yeah, so overall, just stand evaluation is a big one. And of course, at this point, if you haven't had hail or frost, which quite a few folks have had up to this point. So if one of those things hasn't just absolutely wrecked your stand and you made sure that your stand is good up till this point, with all the moisture, just making sure that you've got a good nitrogen plant in place. And that would have started hopefully last fall whenever you were making input decisions, but just making sure you've got enough nitrogen down. And at this point, not probably so much from a nitrogen loss, but making sure that plant has enough nitrogen going into what is going to be considered the rapid growth stage. And whenever the plants really start to take off, start to actually feed off their roots, I kind of joke around this time of year, it's kind of the ugly duck stage of the corn, and it's yellow, and oh my gosh, my corn looks terrible, it's ugly, and what's going on? Well, the corn is now starting to use the nodal roots to get to those nutrients. So it's just going to look a little pale usually most of the time until it kind of hits that nitrogen and gets to that nitrogen. So just a nitrogen plan in place. And I think, if you haven't, just herbicide pass as well. Obviously, that's top of mind if you haven't got across it at this point.
Watch your labels.
Yes.
For the herbicide, that can be tricky sometimes staging corn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially if it's been held off or.
Yeah, and if it's been too wet to even get in the field, you might have to pivot and adjust a little bit based on that if your corn's gotten too tall. But those are just a couple of things. And on the bean side of things, just beans are still relatively small, so all of the same from a herbicide standpoint, just making sure we're really timely with our post applications there on the soybean side.
And then thinking a little bit, circling back to diseases on early seedling corn and beans. I think there's quite a bit of both in the ground at times for some people. So what kind of, what are those diseases, first of all?
So the main one that I would be kind of leery of right now is fusarium, and that would be for both corn and soybeans because we've had cool and wet conditions, saturated soils, and that's typically where the fusarium species will really thrive and take off. Another one I would keep in mind is Pythium. It's maybe not as temperature sensitive as, like, say, the fusarium, but with our saturated soils and potentially what makes it worse is compaction, anaerobic conditions in our soils. So, and that's the case with a lot of diseases, a lot of fungus, is that it's going to thrive in those saturated soils, those anaerobic soils, just because the soil is not working as well. So those are just kind of a couple that I would think about on both crops in particular. And then on soybeans, Phytophthora would be one. Again, the saturation, the wet conditions, but typically with Phytophthora, I think of it as a little bit warmer. It needs to be a little bit warmer. Now, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but just generally speaking here, most often it's a little bit warmer compiled with those wet conditions. That would be one to keep an eye out for.
And as it relates to some of these conditions we're in, it's wet, is there anything we can do?
So with those diseases in particular attacking the seedling, we do have most corn out there, soybeans have a really good seed treatment on them that is going to have multiple modes that are protecting us against those diseases. So seed treatments would be one thing that I would have top of mind, and then also just your field conditions, field drainage, compaction areas, anything that's going to hold water and longer than anything else, and then saturated soils. So whatever we can do to help our field drainage is really important, so we can just help that soil microbiology work a lot better. Those are the things that I'm keeping kind of top of mind for that.
Yeah.
And of course, this is kind of obvious, but like planting conditions, we don't just want to go slap the seed in, whenever it's really wet out there. If it's too wet, that's going to compile on top to all these disease problems we're already talking about. We don't just want to go in when conditions are unfit, but that's kind of the obvious one. But that would be another one.
Okay. So, find the best conditions we can, watch our planter settings so we're not smearing something in if we are in a situation that's marginal. And then after that, it's check your fields, see if you can get water drained out, whether it's it sounds pretty elementary, but sometimes the sod at the end, your ditches and stuff, the grass holds water in. If you can find ways to get it out with a tractor or something, just get water out. Drainage. So I think that pretty much wraps up anything, unless you had another thought. I
don't think so.
I don't either. We just want to do a quick update on this, as you are possibly gearing up to go again with planting operations or whatever when it dries up. Be thinking about that. If you see areas of your field that are ponding or saturation, if you can do something where you see that effect, you will help yourself later on, even if it looks like it's already been damaged some, right? Like, I mean, anytime you can do that is better than not letting it just sit.
Sure.
So, with that, we will see you on the next one.
So, what? I thought it turned out well.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
If you were Scott Dickey now, you would say something like, "It's about time for lunch."
Yeah,
What else?
Starving.
You're starving?
Yes.
What would he call it, Celena? What does he say? Grub or something? He calls it something else. He doesn't say, "Let's go for lunch." He says, "I'm ready for something." Call me.
Yeah. Scott, I don't.
You don't know what's going to come out.
Exactly.
But I wish he was here. We could have made a really nice roundtable discussion, and hey, I got selected. Field of Arms of the Year.
No.
It's your turn again.
For wave one of the whiskey.
It's almost bean time. So I got splinters in my hand. I'm cutting. Sorry. It's almost bean time.
Lunch. Yes.
Well, it's 11, 13, it's 12 almost.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I got that splinter dissected out.